This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 13th day of January in the year 2022. I'm Gordon Mosley, and here's what we're tracking tonight. Outspoken opposition member of parliament and host of the popular In the Ring talk show Sherrod Duncan is expected to face the magistrate's court on Monday to answer to a cybercrime charge, according to the police. Mr. Duncan was arrested by the police this morning and kept in custody for several hours following a complaint filed against him by the IT manager at the Guyana Elections Commission and Neil Giddings over statements that Duncan allegedly made on his social media talk show. According to the police, Mr. Giddings complained to the cybercrime unit that during Duncan's talk show 2 nights ago, he was singled out by Duncan and allegedly referred to as a jagabat and trench crapo. The police in a statement said Giddings complained that the names are disrespectful and caused him significant emotional distress and humiliation. Following the complaint, Duncan was invited to the CID headquarters, where he was immediately arrested once he showed up. While he was kept in custody for more than 6 hours, he was not allowed any visits from his attorneys. A number of senior members of the APNU-AFC opposition who are attorneys turned up at the CID headquarters and were prevented from getting access to the compound and seeing Duncan. Opposition MPs and attorneys Amanza Walton Desir and Kemraj Ramjatan both said the Guyana police force was clearly taking political instructions and abusing the cybercrime laws.
And so the Cybercrime Act is being abused at the instruction of the powers that be by the police, who have become like an instrumentality in relation to these offenses. And I hope that my police force is not behaving like jagabats now. That is not what I tried whilst there for my 5 years, telling them that you must understand in a liberal democratic order, and especially with the constitutionalism and rule of law. People are going to make certain statements that are, not norms or not because of what you would expect them to make, but that is not a crime.
Every Guyanese must commit offenses every day, because these are regular run-of-the-mill expressions. And so what? We run to the police because our feelings were hurt? You see, I know there are a lot of people who talk about, the AP and you passed the law and a lot of those comments you see. But what people must understand is that the law has to be fairly applied to all. A law only becomes repressive when it is selectively applied. And this is what you're seeing in this case. I personally had my life threatened by Roshan Khan. I came and I made a report under the Cybercrimes Act. Up to now, he has not been invited to CID for an interview. Up to now, he hasn't been invited. He called for my home to be picketed, for me to be marked. And this is a man that owns a security company. Up to now, the police have not called him in for questioning.
After being released from custody this afternoon on $100,000 bail, Duncan denied the charges and allegations leveled against him.
Now, when they mentioned this fella's name, my first reaction to the police was, who? Because the name didn't ring a bell. But I deny all of these charges, all the accusations that I address this individual in this way. We got a lot of jagabats in this country. That's the truth of the matter, all right? And I had to really box my mind back to figure out whether I'd call him that, right? But on the face of it, I am denying all of the charges. All right, more in the ring.
In a statement, the Guyana Police Force said a video recording of the show was downloaded from a Facebook page carrying the name Sherrod Avery Duncan as part of the investigations. The police said a complaint was taken from the GCOM IT manager and the full investigation was launched. This evening, the police said that investigation has now been completed. More news coming up in just a moment.
What is fiber? Think exceptional. GTT Fiber is an advanced high-speed internet product that delivers broadband via fiber optic cables with download speeds of up to 150 megabits per second. It means your internet is faster, and GTT Fiber comes with the added coverage of our Plume HomePass Wi-Fi system. Plume extends your Wi-Fi signal to ensure that you have the best experience in every corner of your home with Wi-Fi everywhere. Upgrade to GTT Fiber today and don't get left behind tomorrow.
Will you be there when we come to play? Cup is coming to the West Indies. Be there January 14th to February 5th. Get your free ticket at www.u19cwc.com/tickets.
Will you be there?
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
You see them children playing in the dirty water again?
You know me talk to them this morning, like them don't understand.
Every time it flood, they just want to go in the flood waters. They think this thing is fun. You could get serious diseases in the water. And if an electrical line fall in the water, you could get electrocuted. Little boy, you want to tell you not to play in that water? Come here this minute.
You see the water don't start coming in the house? When you're living in a downstairs, you just got to take precautions.
That is right. You got to make sure there's a pair of long boots for every member of the family. Protect drinking water from contamination. Keep a stock of foods that can't spoil. And have some place to go if your place flood out.
Guyana, our country, our responsibility.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Buster, Buster $100. Come get your Buster, Buster $100.
Welcome back. Well, there is concern by a regional private sector organization that Guyana's recently passed local content legislation for the oil and gas industry violates the CARICOM treaty that Guyana has signed on to. Several regional businesses and organizations intend to approach the Guyana government and CARICOM on the issue through the CARICOM private sector organization. The businesses, which include a large conglomerate in Trinidad, believe that the legislation effectively locks them out from doing business in Guyana in the oil and gas industry and shuts the door on fair trade under the CARICOM Single Market and Economy Agreement. But the Guyana Private Sector Commission and the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry have both frowned on the concerns being expressed by the regional body. The two local private sector groups were at the forefront in pushing for legislation which allows Guyanese-owned companies to be given full preference in many of the undertakings in the oil and gas sector. In a statement on his Facebook page, the president of the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, Timothy Tucker, said if the Trinidad and Tobago private sector or government wants to challenge Guyana's local content legislation, it's time that the Guyana government exits the CARICOM Single Market and Economy and review the benefits of CARICOM. He reflected on various instances where Guyanese products were blocked from entering the Trinidadian market or even being shipped through Trinidad. Tucker pointed out that there are over 200 business opportunities for businesses in the oil and gas sector, and he cannot understand why there would be an issue with the 40 opportunities that were singled out for Guyanese to benefit exclusively. He further accused Guyanese who might be siding with the position of the Trinidadian businesses of being unpatriotic. Former head of the Private Sector Commission, Nicholas Degu Boyer, referenced the concerns of the head of a Trinidad-based conglomerate about Guyana's local content legislation. He said the most disrespect he has seen come from those conglomerates that feel a sense of entitlement, the same ones that have ironically destroyed many small businesses over the years. During the debate on the local content legislation, the opposition, while supporting the bill, had raised concern about whether some sections were in contravention of the CARICOM Treaty and other agreements that Guyana had signed on to. The government sought to assure that there was nothing to worry about, but the move by the regional business group could see Guyana being challenged at a regional level over its legislation. Meanwhile, in a statement today, the chairman of the Bihari Group, Suresh Bihari, said that contrary to misleading and false reports in other sections of the media, he was never tasked to advocate for the position contended for by some regional businesses. He said the sum total of his advice to certain entities was that they seek constructive dialogue and engagement with the governments of Guyana and local stakeholders, and to avoid any confrontation or disruptive fallout. He said he was prepared to attempt to facilitate an initial engagement. Mr. Bihari said he supports Guyana's local content legislation, in particular as it relates to the oil and gas industry. He said, like many others, he has contributed to the in-depth discussions on Guyana's local content legislation at each of the many consultations. He said he welcomes the provisions and protections and incentives that are provided for all businesses to invest and grow in Guyana's oil and gas space. Businessman and publisher of the Kaieteur News, Glenn Lal, has mounted a legal challenge in the High Court, seeking among other things a declaration from the court that several articles of the Petroleum Agreement, dated 27th of June 2016, violate sections of the Petroleum Exploration and Production Act and are therefore unlawful, null and void, and of no legal effect. Mr. Lal, in the court action against the government, is arguing that the concessions which the oil companies currently enjoy in Guyana are excessive, and Guyana could benefit from hundreds of millions of dollars once a more robust agreement is put in place. Lal and his Kaieteur newspapers have been hammering the agreement since it was signed by the former government. He has also taken the new government to task for its failure to review the oil contracts, expressing his dissatisfaction over the administration's granting of more concessions to the ExxonMobil company and its partners. The court action, which lists Attorney General Anand Lal as a respondent, was filed by Mr. Lal's attorney Muhammad Ali. And although Mr. Lal wants almost all of the articles in the contract reversed, his main contention deals with Article 15 of the Stabroek Block Agreement, which addresses the question of royalties and tax exemptions for ExxonMobil, its partners, affiliate companies, and subcontractors. Lal, who has mounted several protests in recent weeks against the agreement and has also taken on a bigger presence on social media to share his concerns, also wants the High Court to declare that a section of the Petroleum Act which authorizes the minister to remit any royalty payable by a licensee or to defer the payment of such royalty is also a violation of the Financial Administration and Audit Act. Now let's tell you that Fire Chief Calamidine Idu, who has found himself in the center of a major investigation into alleged financial improprieties at the fire service headquarters, has been sent on pre-retirement leave. Mr. Idu reaches the age of retirement in June. He's expected to remain on leave straight into his official retirement. He received the instruction to proceed on pre-retirement leave this morning from the Ministry of Home Affairs. The fire chief was hoping for an extension in his contract, but he had a rocky week at the fire service this week, as several senior and junior firefighters made known their opposition to him being granted any extension in his contract to serve as the fire chief. In addition to that opposition, a massive internal investigation was ordered at the fire service headquarters after an audit unearthed a number of concerning financial issues. Among the issues was the alleged overcharging of a number of companies in the oil and gas sector for fire safety certificates. There was no trace of the funds ever going into the accounts of the fire service, and it is also suspected that millions of dollars might have been collected with no trace. Several of the fire officers provided statements to the investigators, pointing out that the handling of the fire certificates and payments were done directly in the office of the fire chief, shutting out the other officers that were required to be involved in the transactions. News source understands that the fire chief had a meeting with the Minister of Home Affairs and his permanent secretary this week, and both of them expressed their frustrations and disappointment in him over the financial issues highlighted in the audit report and the ones that are now under investigation. Guyana today shattered the country's record for the highest number of new COVID-19 cases recorded in a single day. The Ministry of Health announced this afternoon that in the past 24 hours, a total of 1,186 persons tested positive for the virus, pushing the number of active cases in the country to more than 8,500. The trend of Region 4 recording the majority of new cases is continuing. Almost half of the new cases have been recorded in Region 4. The Region 10 community is seeing a big spike in new cases, with 221 new cases being recorded in that region in the past 24 hours. It is the highest number of new cases ever recorded in the Bauxite community. Region 10 has the lowest vaccination rate in the country, and health officials in the region and nationally continue to encourage persons to get vaccinated. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, revealed today that there are 121 persons hospitalized in the country with the virus, and the majority of those persons are unvaccinated.
Unfortunately, what we have seen is that the persons who are unvaccinated, and if they have comorbidities, unfortunately, they're the ones who would end up in the hospital. We are getting far less hospitalization now, but if you're unvaccinated and you have comorbidities, then you would be at a much higher risk of getting hospitalized if you get COVID. So again, I would like to urge persons who have not been vaccinated as yet to make sure that they go out and get vaccinated. We have vaccines available at all our sites.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health has relaunched its vaccination campaign in many of the regions and across the city. The People's National Congress Reform, which is the largest party in the APNU-AFC coalition, has issued a call on the president to institute additional measures as a matter of urgency in order to address the constant rise in food prices. In a statement today, the party said it has noted the cries of the Guyanese people in relation to the high food prices, and therefore the president should act swiftly to remove duty on all fertilizers, introduce temporary price ceilings to curb the constant rise in prices, introduce consumer food subsidies, and increase public sector workers' wages in order to cushion the effects of the high food prices. The party said basic food supplies such as milk, cooking oil, plantains, and bread have rapidly increased without any clear indication of reduction or stabilization. The party also said Guyanese must not have to choose between eating or starving because the prices are exorbitant, and noted that the situation is becoming deeply concerning and even worrying. According to the PNC, at every sector of the society, cries of housewives, small business owners, and Guyanese in general ring out in desperation for the government to fulfill the mandate of insulating the economy during the pandemic and from opportunists who seek to take advantage of consumers. The PNC wants the government to swiftly implement a plan of action to bring redress, given that it was established the sharp rise in the cost of living is likely to continue since the global economy has been hard hit during the pandemic. Police investigators are probing the discovery of a man's lifeless body outside the yard of a businessman in the Sandybab Street, Kitty area. The dead man has been identified only as Bolo. The businessman claims that he discovered the man's lifeless body yesterday morning at around 7:30 when he went into his yard. The dead man is of East Indian descent and his age and address are both unknown. The police today said he was found lying on his back with wounds to his left hand and above the wrist. The investigation into the discovery is ongoing.
Sonia, you think people easy? People just really want to do their own thing. Look across the road how we building the house low. The building code say you're supposed to be 2 feet off the ground.
And when the place flood, them just be the first to complain.
But you know sometimes we that just contribute to the flooding with we behavior.
You know, boy, we just throw things in the drains and canals. We don't keep the gutters clean and dispose of garbage properly. By the way, you got an emergency kit?
Yeah, Sonia, I got me own and it got drinking water, army medicines, and first aid things like band-aids, iodine, bandages.
And me own got in toothpaste, a change of underwear and clothing, toilet paper and soap.
Guyana, our country, our responsibility.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
We've got exciting news! All 12 $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get your
color.
Buster, Buster $100. Come get your Buster, Buster $100.
How fast is fiber? Think fast. GTT Fiber has 3 packages with download speeds of 50, 100, and 150 megabits per second. That's fast enough to stream movies and music, to chat with Gran and Fran, to study, and more. What would you do? Upgrade to GTT Fiber today and don't get left behind tomorrow.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Oil Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, at least 57 protesters arrested in Cuba during last year's wave of unprecedented demonstrations are scheduled to go on trial this week. The relatives of the accused said on Tuesday that some of the protesters are facing up to 30 years in jail. The sister of one of the defendants said that she had been told that the trials are expected to last 3 to 4 days. The woman's brother is charged in Santa Clara with public disorder, as well as attacking and contempt of authority. She said the defense lawyers seem to be doing a good job, and she added that the only witnesses against the defendants are the same police who assaulted them. Colombia will let people get their coronavirus booster vaccines 4 months after completing their initial vaccination course, the president has announced. Colombia, which according to the government figures, has had more than 5.3 million COVID-19 infections and more than 130,000 deaths, previously mandated that people wait 6 months for their booster shots after completing their initial vaccinations. At the same time, persons who are infected with COVID-19 can have their vaccines 30 days after their isolation ends. Colombia has also reduced quarantine times for those who test positive and show symptoms regardless of vaccination status to 7 days from 14 days previously. And finally tonight, international news. In the United Kingdom, the Duke of York's military titles and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen, Buckingham Palace has announced. The 61-year-old Prince Andrew will also stop using the style His Royal Highness in an official capacity, a royal source said. It comes as he faces a U.S. civil action over sexual assault allegations, claims that he has consistently denied. A source close to the Duke said that he would continue to defend himself against the case brought in New York by Virginia Gov. A judge in the city ruled on Wednesday that the case brought by the woman could continue after the prince tried to have it dismissed. Buckingham Palace today said in a statement that with the Queen's approval and agreement, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned to the Queen, and he will continue not to undertake any public duties and is defending the case as a private citizen. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.